We have some new additions to the prospects to stash. Let's discuss up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Thursday, June 12th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. 5 prospects to stash right now. Bubba Chandler of the Pirates, Logan Henderson of the Brewers, Chandler Simpson of the Rays, and then the new additions. We have Chase Burns of the Reds, who recently was promoted to AAA, and Joe Boyle of the Rays, who technically isn't a prospect. But don't tell anybody. Scott?
He isn't a prospect. We had Zebby Matthews on this list earlier in the year. He technically wasn't a prospect. You know, you're stashing them in the same vein because they are minor leaguers who haven't established themselves in the major leaguers in the majors yet. They've just used up their rookie eligibility already. All right. So yeah, we do have a couple new additions here. We finally cleared Roman Anthony off the list. Mercifully, was running out of things to say about him. Unfortunately, we haven't cleared Bubba Chandler off the list yet. And I got to say, it's getting kind of hairy for Bubba Chandler. He had a really rough start here on Wednesday. And I think that's 2 of his last 3 now have been pretty rocky. The strike throwing has diminished. I think it's hard to make the claim that this is just a service time manipulation thing with the way Chandler has been pitching recently. So I'm kind of actually it's back-to-back starts that have been bad. I said 2 of his last 3. It's back-to-back. He only lasted 2/3 of an inning in this latest one and walked 4. So that's what we're dealing with for Bubba Chandler right now. I'm not sure he really needs to be at the top of the list, but he's 80% rostered in CBS Sports Leagues, by far the most rostered prospect, and it's hard to give up on that when you've already poured so many weeks into it. But yeah, he needs at least one good start before they call him up, I think. Last 2 haven't been there. Okay, Logan Henderson, he got passed over for Jacob Mizorowski, who's set for his major league debut Thursday. And my initial thought was, okay, this confirms that the Brewers are managing Logan Henderson's innings. But in his most recent start at AAA, first one where he got sent back down to his 3 innings, in his most recent one, 5 innings. He went 5 innings, struck out through 70 pitches. Not a full workload, I would say, but not a clear case of innings management like when he threw 3 in the previous outing. So I'm a little confused because he's been amazing the 4 starts in the majors. And I could understand, given that his career high in innings is like 81, why they'd want to pull back, but they're not really pulling back that hard. So I don't know. Obviously, you got to stash Henderson because he'll be back at some point, and he's been great. Chandler Simpson's gone to the minors, keeps doing his thing. He'll be back. He'll be back. Definitely in roto leagues, you got to stash him for all the steals he's going to give you. And now we get into the new names here. Chase Burns. Chase Burns is the best pitching prospect in baseball. We've made the Bubba Chandler comp, or I'm sorry, we've made the Paul Skeens comp for Bubba Chandler in part because, same organization and everything. It was never a realistic comp. Bubba Chandler's a great prospect, but he's not so good that he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory the moment he sets foot in the big leagues like Paul Skeens was. And I think Chase Burns could be. Chase Burns, the 2nd overall pick last year, top pitcher drafted, didn't make his pro debut until this year, sort of like Skeens, actually. Skeens needed a month to climb all the way to the majors. Burns, it's been more like 2 months. He's not all the way there yet, but he's mastered high A. He's moved on from AA. Next start will come at AAA. He might only need a couple starts there. The fastball, big velocity, great carry too, so that even when hitters time it up, they're swinging and missing. The slider might even be better for Corbin Burns. He's thrown 68% of his pitches for strikes, so no control issues. I think it's time to stash him. And part of me wants to put him at the top of the list, to be honest. I'm not sure Chandler's more stashable than Burns at this point.
I sign off on it, Scott. I'm good with it.
Yeah. Maybe next week. Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle's been fantastic. It's a shame. the Rays treat starting pitchers as if they're pretty disposable. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy that they haven't found room for Boyle yet. They've had, so they lost Shane McClanahan in spring training to injury, and that allowed Drew Rasmussen in the starting rotation. But it's basically just been the same five this whole time, this whole season. Like, what other team can say that? Boyle did come up to make a spot start back on April 13th, I think, when they just need to space everyone out a little bit. And through 5 no-hit innings against the Braves, people were upset that he got sent back down. Since being sent back down, Joe Boyle has a 1.37 ERA, a .85 whip, and 10.6 K per nine. He's thrown 65% of his pitches for strikes. His walk rate on the year between majors and minors, 3.7 per nine. It's not very good in a vacuum, but it's about half of what Joe Boyle's walk rate was between the majors and minors last year. The Rays are great about maximizing pitching outcomes. I think they've done it with Boyle, and sooner or later, attrition has to kick in. They're going to lose somebody. Boyle would obviously be the one up.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. 5 prospects on the periphery. We have Christian Moore of the Angels, Justin Crawford of the Phillies, Connor Griffin of the Pirates, Dylan Beavers of the Orioles, Blaze Jordan of the Red Sox. Scott, a quick thought on some of these names?
Yeah, so they're all kind of known to dynasty leaguers, I would imagine. Christian Moore almost forced his way to the majors last year after being drafted because he got off to such a hot start. And because he plays for the Angels, it wasn't a stretch to think they might just bring him all the way up. Didn't happen. Finished on a down note and started slowly this year. But since moving up to AAA, Christian Moore's been killing it again. I don't know if you've looked at the Angels roster recently. Second base is wide open. Kyron Paris didn't work out. They're starting Scott Kingery there now. They're aching for more, I think. And while I look, he's got skills, some swing and miss issues that I think would prevent him from being an impactful fantasy player right away. But in a deep enough league, you could take a flyer on Christian Moore now. Justin Crawford. Okay, if you like Chandler Simpson, I think you should love Justin Crawford. I think he gets short shrift from prospect evaluators because he's not doing what they want him to do, which is elevating the ball more. He hits the ball like 7 miles per hour harder on average than Chandler Simpson. But he's doing the Chandler Simpson thing of like he's totally sold out to his approach. It's on the ground more than 60% of the time. It's slapping it to the opposite field more often than he's pulling it. And he's batting over 400 since the start of May is Justin Crawford at AAA. Ton of steals. Son of Carl Crawford. Carl Crawford eventually developed some power. Maybe Justin Crawford will too. But I think he's going to be it's a pretty exciting fantasy profile, even if he doesn't. Connor Griffin was I believe he was the number 9 pick in last year's draft, out of high school, young guy. Guy just looks like a ball player. He's tall, he's lean, he's athletic, very fast, so fast he's probably going to wind up in center field, though he's been playing mostly shortstop right now. And you can never be sure about high schoolers being drafted early, but he's lived up to it so far. His last 9 games, he's batting .513. His past 27 games, he's batting .424. Just got moved up to high A and has back-to-back multi-hit games there. The plate discipline isn't great for Connor Griffin, and so he's going to have to learn to rein in that aggressiveness, but the tools are just off the charts enough that I could see him emerging as the top prospect in baseball someday. Dylan Beavers, an outfielder for the Orioles. They could use a win on the hitting prospect front because they've had some misses lately with Kobe Mayo and Heston Kjerstad. Not that there's a final verdict for either of those, but it hasn't gone well yet. Dylan Beavers was always a second-tier prospect for them, but he's kind of flattened his swing this year, getting a lot more line drives, batting well over 300 at AAA. I could see them trying out Beavers later this year. And then finally, Blaze Jordan of the Red Sox, first base prospect at AAA, batting around 330. It's interesting because he became famous. Blaze Jordan was internet famous as a 13-year-old hitting 500-foot bombs. And here all these years later as a prospect, his whole profile is different. He strikes out only 11% of the time, doesn't hit that many home runs. But, that's a tough fit first baseman, not much power, bats right-handed. But the Red Sox could use a first baseman right now. They're making do with Abraham Toro for the time being, but they might at some point want to give Blaze Jordan a look if he continues to hit as well as he has.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.